Welcome to Exit Like a Boss. I'm going to show you, having helped nearly 800 business owners work through a 21-step process to exit like a boss, how you can do it, what you need to know, the steps you need to take, and what's actually involved in you and your business being able to maximize value and successfully exit like a boss. Hope you enjoy it. In this episode of Exit Like a Boss, we're going to find out all about fact find. Find out what you need to do to understand and know exactly what you are dealing with. What is your business worth today? What could it or should it be worth in the future? And what are all the key variables or key levers that you can pull to actually adjust that value? But where we're going to start is with the basics, getting all of the facts and figures of the business together. It still amazes me when I talk to business owners about exiting, how many don't know and understand the basic facts of their business. Not just the financials, though that's quite important, but also the non-financial aspects, the day-to-day operational aspects, the risks that embody your business, the issues that need to be dealt with in your industry, and even sometimes the economic impact. The way that we do this in my business is to use a business insights report, which is a detailed, deep dive analysis into the business, operationally, structurally, ownership, financial performance, and also non-financial areas. So let's talk through some of the key things that you'll need to know and understand in terms of the facts in and around your business. The first thing is obvious. Who owns what? Who are the owners of the business? Now, perhaps it's really simple and it's owned by you in your own name. It's a sole trader or a single entity like that. That's quite easy to manage, but that's not normally the case. Often as businesses grow, the entity and ownership becomes much more complicated. Many business owners have multiple entities owning various parts or assets that make up the business. Sometimes there's a trading entity, perhaps there's an entity that owns your intellectual property or even machinery and plant and equipment that are used in running the business. Sometimes the business purchased the building several years ago. That may be in a separate entity altogether. So the first thing we have to understand is who owns what. And not only who owns what today, but also who owns what after our exit. Lots of business owners at the moment are selling the business, but keeping the building and leasing the building out to the new owners. Not a bad strategy to help fund retirement, but there's some preparation needed as we start to think about what that means in terms of ownership, asset protection, and even taxation implications. The next thing we need to think about then is the financial performance. Now that's pretty obvious, and most people will look at this, or most people have some idea how their business performs financially and what the key things are that need to be addressed. Certainly we start with a statement of income or a profit and loss statement. How much money does the business actually make? We have to adjust that normally because often in privately owned businesses there's some private expenses, or there's some expenses that at least are not repeating or not in the normal course of business, and so we need to add them back or adjust them out of our P&L. One of the most common examples of that is that owners often don't pay themselves a market salary. Now that's okay, sometimes people reduce it for tax reasons, sometimes people pay themselves way more than a market salary because they can afford to. But when you're analysing a business financially, you need to know what will it actually cost me to employ someone to run that business. And that's where the market salary is important. So if you're not paying yourself a market salary, whilst that's okay, you need to adjust the financials to take that into account. If you're paying yourself way less, then you need to add some expense to that profit and loss statement. If you're paying yourself way more, you can take some away, obviously. And that occurs often with building rent, if it's owned by a family member or something like that, but also some other expenses that might be one-off or non-recurring need to be adjusted as well. At the end of the day, that all comes up to an adjusted or normalised profit and loss, and that's the key piece of financial analysis that we're going to undertake as part of this process. We have to dive a lot deeper than that though. The P&L is not enough to tell us what's happening in that business. We often benchmark the business against industry averages, and most buyers, investors or lenders will do this as well, comparing your business performance with your competitors. Do you make more or less profit than them? Is your rent way higher or lower than them? Do you actually have the same gross profit margin as them, or is there something different going on? And if there is, why and how? And if I'm a buyer or investor or lender, what impact does that have on my decision to purchase your business? Or more importantly, what impact does it have on the decision of the lender to lend me the money to buy your business, which may change the whole deal? Understanding all of that, looking at the cash flows, looking at the financial performance is really important. Secondly, we have to look at the non-financial aspects. And this is one area where the Business Insights report that we use is quite different. We actually analyse nearly 300 non-financial aspects of the business. Now, some of those are quite simple. We ask questions like, do all your employees have job descriptions and KPIs? Do you have a board of directors? Is there an independent director or chairman on that particular board? Now, the reason we ask all those questions and we gather all these facts as part of the fact find is they have a direct relationship to two things. Firstly, risk. And secondly, the valuation. Risk and the valuation go together. So businesses that are higher risk have, generally speaking, lower valuations. If you can reduce the risk, you'll increase the value. That is nearly always non-financial aspects of the business. So going through all of those areas, understanding what businesses of your size in your industry should have in place from a non-financial operational aspect will help you drive value within your business. And then lastly, we're actually going to complete a valuation. Many business owners are uncertain about the value of their business. Some underestimate vastly what the business is worth, while others think it's worth far more than actually is the case. This is a really critical point. Understanding exactly what your business is worth today and why is really important, because that means we can actually have an impact on that valuation. If I understand that my business is worth $6 million today and I want to sell it for $8 million, I can work out based on that valuation analysis, based on the financials, based on the non-financial aspects that have contributed to that financial valuation, I can work out what needs to be done to improve that outcome. If it's financial, as in we just don't make enough profit compared to our industry averages to value it at $8 million, then we know what we need to do. If it's not profit, if it's non-financial aspects, in other words, it's quite a risky business because we haven't got a lot of structure and discipline in place, then we can go away and work on those things. The key thing there is neither of those two things are necessarily going to happen quickly. Often there'll be a period of months and even years when we work through the process to improve those metrics and get you to the valuation that you're looking for. Now, this is a challenge for most business owners because often they leave it until too late. We've already spoken about the idea of getting an exit strategy up front, setting some goals so you know exactly what your timeline looks like. This is about getting all the facts and figures together and understanding what exactly is the position today and what needs to be done to help us get ready for our exit in the future. That implementation plan, which drops out of the fact find, is the critical pathway that we're going to follow over the next 2 or 3 years leading up to an exit strategy. All of those things that are going to be done on that pathway are about preparing you and the business and the financials for an exit. Most of them are just plain good business sense anyway. And businesses that have all these things in place are generally less risky, more profitable, and much more fun to run. Less stress, in other words. So preparing those things is quite an important aspect, both for an exit strategy, but also for your peace of mind in owning and running the business going forward. The action item from today is get all of those facts and figures together. When you sell your business, buyers, for example, are going to ask you for a stack of documentation, historical financials, tax lodgements, legal agreements with your employees, with your suppliers, with your landlord, and a whole stack of other things. So have a look at the due diligence list that you can download from our site, get clear on what sort of items you need to think about and prepare, and set yourself a task. Might even involve some of your employees or external advisors, but set yourself a task to have all that material ready. Complete the fact find today so that when and if you need to go down the path of examining what that actually tells you in terms of evaluation, you've got everything together and ready to go.